Hello there, welcome to the Vaults Remastered, a story of converting a 5th edition D&D game world into a Pathfinder 2nd edition remastered game world. Today's edition, today's episode, session 3A, we're calling it. We're going to get into organizations using Pathfinder 2nd edition rules. We're going to be talking specifically about cults and the cult of Kvarca, known as the Luminite Lattice, these devout followers of this titanic entity of radiance, this primordial of unblemished perfection, and his mortal followers, the Lattice, who pursue the path of perfection in order to empower their lord to make him even greater and grander in scale. So today's episode, we're going to get into the canon of this cult of Kvarca. And if you've been following my earlier episodes, I've been talking about Kvarca as an entity, a not a god, but a primordial in the game world. Same kind of idea though. His religion, his history, background information, things that can help you world build, things that the player characters could use to create intriguing backstories for their characters. And now I'm going to get into who are the people, who worship, who follow this path of perfection, this luminous path, this faith of theirs. So hey, why bother with cults at all, right? What's up with the cult? Why use them? Well, in terms of your tabletop, fantasy RPGs, beyond your pantheons that's your clerics and your priests that are worshiping these gods, you'll often have these enigmatic and fervent collectives that are called cults. They're not just gatherings of believers, they are bastions of devoted, maybe even zealots, whose singular focus is sharpening the edge of their faith as a tool that can reshape your world. Cults are hidden threads that you're going to weave throughout your fantasy world. They bind secret knowledge with occult practices. They're often operating in the shadows, the penumbra, where the touch of their primordial, in my world, this typically an absent, lost, slumbering, perhaps imprisoned deity who's lingering just out of sight. And unlike an established religion, your cult is driven by the conviction that their actions are going to influence the divine, whereas a religion, God believes the gods are influencing their actions. So cults are kind of the opposite of that. And they believe that they can shape their deities' fates and in turn shape their own destinies. So if you're a world builder, you're a game master, cults are this treasure trove of narrative potential. They're going to serve as a wellspring for your plot hooks, character motivations and backstories. They're going to give depth to your world's religions. The cult's complex dynamics, and their secretive nature. It's high stakes games with these guys and gals. They're going to make for compelling stories that your players can unravel, or maybe they can even join them. Why not? So imagine a group that's united under this sacred cause. They're ready to tip the scales of power to revive some ancient primordial or unlock some forbidden magic, perhaps. And this group, they can be a force of chaos or they can be a force of change. They could be an ally for your PCs. They could be a nemesis for the adventurers. And their allure lies in their intensity, in their focus. The allure of unraveling the mysteries of this cult, and a palpable impact of their rituals on your game world. So today we're going to take a look at cults of the vaults, which is my game world, and specifically the cult known as the Luminite Lattice, who worships Kvarca, as an example. And Kvarca's cult, the Luminite Lattice, they are woven of light and shadow, dedicated to his radiant splendor and their ceaseless quest in order to attain perfection and, in turn, get him to become perfect so that he can ascend to godhood. So, if you're interested, follow me to the depths of the vaults one more time. We're going to check out the Luminite Lattice and see how we can build a cult using Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules. So let's take a overview of the concept for cults in my game world. Now, if you're making a cult in your own game world, your reasons may differ. But for me, my game world is the vaults, the subterranean, Darklands based setting. There are primordials, which are the gods. They're technically they're the children of the gods who have been defeated, banished, imprisoned, slain, etc., after staging a failed rebellion against their parents to rule the cosmos. So each primordial in my game world is going to be served by a cult who holds faith that this primordial is their salvation from the cruel fate of being trapped here in this dark, shadowy, subterranean world. Why they blame the gods for their fate. Most of the cults in my game world are going to operate in secret, although a few are going to be above board. And Kvarca's group is a little bit kind of in the in between. They're definitely shiny and brilliant enough that they'll show if you know what to look for. But outside of their realm, they usually kind of keep themselves a little bit hidden because they're not trying to raise suspicion. They're not trying to get people jealous of their power to mess with them because most cults are not strong enough yet to just take over. Most of them are going to be closed memberships. They're only going to be recruiting people who demonstrate some sort of aspect of the faith before they go ahead and actually join. Most of these cults are going to have an ancient derivative because most of them are coming from original worship of the primordials when they were fighting with the gods ages ago. So because that, a lot of their rituals are probably going to seem mysterious, bizarre, things that you haven't people haven't seen in generations. And also, most of the cults are going to want to mirror their primordials. I'm sorry, most of the cults' wants will mirror their primordials. But some of them, and this is going to be kind of the fun part when I get to cults like this, they're going to be revering a dead primordial, one who is not actively able to communicate what it wants. So this opens up a great avenue for you to have a cult kind of making it up as they go, and perhaps for their own nefarious reasons. So anyway, lots of fun, lots of options that are possible. And regardless of what game world you're playing in, whether it's a subterranean game like mine in the vaults or some surface world game or some outer space game, having these cults is awesome fodder for story. Now, how do you go about creating a cult and rules, that sort of thing? So I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm going to use my example, the Luminite Lattice, which, by the way, is inspired by Cobalt Press, not my cult specifically, but they have a great resource book out there called Demon Cults and Secret Societies. Jeff Lee was the main author or designer on that one. And in this book, I think there's 13 cults that they give templates or examples for all kinds of details and stuff. And so that, when I was reading through that book, was really a good impetus for me to how do I, because you're sitting there as a game master going, oh, how do I make a cult? What do I need? And I'd say I need a deity, I need some worshipers, but this book really lays out a good format for how to design a cult. So each chapter in there has, the group, their beliefs, their agenda, statistics for their leaders, magic items, you name it. It's probably in there. So I took a lot of inspiration from that when I created what you see over here, my template that I use. And today we're gonna just be talking about the canon section here. So how do you go about creating the belief structure for your cult? Their identity, what they believe in specifically, what are their goals, what are their rituals. A lot of this for me is going to stem from Kvarca's mythology and religion, which I've already created and is in my previous videos about the luminous faith and his history and his mythology. So I already have a lot of the lore from my game world that I'm going to derive this cult from. Now, if you don't have, big old mythology yet for your particular game world or your particular deities or whatever, you can borrow a deity from some other source if you want. Like Pathfinder's got tons of deities out there. D&D's got some. You can borrow from Cobalt Press. They've got some for their Midgard campaign world. There's lots of sources of gods out there with mythologies and stuff. And then I'm going to focus on today is how do you take that mythology and then turn it into an actionable, usable set of canon. And then in a later video, I'm going to get into the organization of the cult and then, of course, their politics. But today, focusing on canon. Now, we're going to be using Pathfinder 2nd edition rules. So if you go in the remastered book there, actually, sorry, this one is not in the remastered book. This one did not make it into the player core. This is still in the Lost Omens character guide on page 63. So most of the other stat blocks are like deities and cities, settlements that I've done in my previous videos. I got those right out of the remastered book, but this one didn't make the cut. Probably going to be in player core 2. But organization stat block, I don't think from what I've seen of the stat blocks for, deities and such that are really changing that much between the remaster and the original anyway. So I'm not super concerned, but you can see on the left side of the screen here the details that I don't want to say required, but the guidelines for this organization stat block that helps you flesh out your own cult. So when I'm designing my Luminite Lattice, I've got the Kobold Presses examples. I've got the Pathfinder 2nd edition guidelines here, and then I have my own template, which I'm about to show you in a second. So I'm going to take these resources and design the Luminite Lattice using them. So the cool thing I find with the Pathfinder stuff is they have thought of a lot of the stuff I've already thought of, which kind of gives me validation for my own ideas. And then they also have things I hadn't thought of, which allows me to add to stuff and specifically tailored towards a Pathfinder game. And then there's things I've thought of that are not in their stat block. So you kind of fuse this all together and you can really flesh out a cool cult. And my end result is, pages of stuff. But if you can cook it down to a stat block like this, it gives you that quick reference that you can use during your game. So if you're playing a game and you've got some cultist of Kvarca, one of these Luminite Lattice, and your PCs meet them, and they start asking questions or asking, not necessarily you questions, but the NPC questions, you've got a handy little checklist here of, stats and information that you can reference quickly in order to, ad lib or improv as you need to give that information to your players. So, in Pathfinder, the organization stat block is going to give information about how the organization has benefits to its members, allies, anybody else that's within that sphere of influence, and it can be from basic friendship, camaraderie to actual resources that they could lend out or give out to your PCs as an example. Plus, it gives information about their social and political clout, their tie-ins to your game world. All right, now for me in my game world, the Luminite Lattice, I'm breaking this down by, go back to my little template here. So I'm going to cover the identity, the beliefs, the goals, and the rituals. And so what I've done is I've taken my initial mythology, like I said, and the history and such of my primordial, as well as the details I have on his religion, the luminous path. And from that resource, from that mythology, I am then going to answer these guiding questions with the assistance of my muse. Of course, I've been using ChatGPT. My muse, I call her Kathy. And I take the information from my notes, from my resources, from my whole shebang that I put together. Plus, I use Pathfinder's guidelines here for the organization name. Plus, I've got the resource of Kobold Press to reference as well. And between those resources and my own knowledge and what Kathy as a tool is going to help me, I'm able to answer these questions and turn it into a really fleshed out group of individuals. So identity wise, here's what I've come up with after answering these questions. These cultists, they're the followers of the Luminous Path. They worship Kvarca, who's their Radiant Sovereign. The cult has mainly gem crafters, miners, artisans, anybody who's seeking enlightenment and really self-improvement. They're dedicated to the attainment of perfection and unveiling what is called the or the Ur energy in my game world, which translates roughly into electromagnetic energy that travels through the earth, kind of like the magnetic fields coming down, through the pole and out the other pole. And this energy, this Ur, is focused within the core of the world, or what's called the world navel by the individuals that live here in the game world, or the inner sun would be another name for it. And this energy, they believe, is trapped residually within gemstones, within minerals, and by cutting these and shaping these and polishing these, they can reveal the true nature of the stone, release the perfection, if you will. And this is metaphorical for themselves. They believe that if they not literally carve themselves, but they believe that within them, the mortal body, within the mortal flesh, you can improve, polish, cut, shape, and achieve this radiant perfection, which is, representation of their primordial Kvarca. So they see themselves as guardians of Prismar, which is Kvarka's domain, and they believe that they have to spread his light in the form of illumination, whether it's physical, just looking good, physically, fit, aesthetically beautiful, their clothing, everything else perfect, no stains or whatever on their shirts, or spiritual illumination. They need to spread the light, right? And this whole cult got its origins in what's known as the Illumination of the Depths, which was an event that happened in the wake of the Scion War. This was the war between the gods and their children, the primordials, which the primordials lost. So this cult is really, really old, thousands of years. And they celebrate the awakening of new members. And they have an annual ceremony in which, it's lanterns and lights and shinies all over the city of Quartzarum and Prismatica within the realm of Prismar. And if you haven't seen my videos about those realms or those cities, go ahead and take a look at them, because I use the stat blocks for settlements and nations from Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered as well. So that is where we're starting. This is who the cult is. This is where they got their origins. This is when they got started. So they've been around for a while. So they're going to have some really old traditions. Now, beliefs, I've taken this chunk, and again, I have these guiding questions that I go through, and I feed them into, Chat GPT, along with all my information I know. Who are they worshiping? What are they worshiping? Why are they worshiping Kvarca? What do they know about him? And what do they hold sacrosanct? Like, what is, like, you don't say this bad word to them or they're going to mess you up. So Kvarca is the embodiment of flawlessness, beauty, perfection. Uh, they believe, should be amongst the gods themselves. The fact that he has been cast out and thrown down here into the vaults is a travesty. They believe he should be elevated. He is as brilliant and shining as a star in the heavens, the cosmos. He's even more brilliant than these gods who have abandoned, the mortals here. So they want to empower him to become a god, a true, equal of the gods, so that, he can go and basically kick a little tail and finish what he started. They also believe that flaws must be culled from themselves and anybody else. Probably, if you start to take it to the extreme, if they were like in charge of some, um, you know, world or whatever, any flaws would be, rooted out. You could probably see some sort of weird, perhaps surgical procedures going on. You could see, if you go into sci-fi end of things, genetic engineering, that kind of thing, eugenics, etc. So they could probably take this to the extreme. Now, they currently are not that extreme, except within the cult themselves. Flaws must be culled. So when you join, this is your mission to make yourself perfect. Okay. Any blemishes, got to polish those away. Perfection is the only accepted state of existence. They revere the art of shaping minerals into gems, into lenses, and they believe that these glimmering, shiny, reflective, light bending surfaces give, uh, I guess, insights into Kvarka's mind. So divination, spiritual insights. So a lot of their beliefs will be based around, looking into crystals and lenses and mirrors and that sort of thing. And as I mentioned, they're seeking to harness this Ur energy because they believe it has, Kvarca's energy in it, and they believe that if they can understand it, collect it, channel it, whatever, they can empower their primordial, lord, and they themselves can reveal the truths of the world and find imperfections more and improve them. So there's their overall belief structure of this cult. So if you're going to join up, you're believing these things. Their goals. Again, I start with some lore that I have for my religion and my deity here, and then I ask some guiding questions. What are the immediate aims of the cult? We have sort of their belief structure. We know sort of like their big picture kind of thing, and then but what do they want like right now? And then what's their greatest desire? Like if they could have everything, what would be number one on that list? And then what do they get out of this bargain of worship and serving Kvarca and achieving perfection? So, already mentioned this, they're aiming to elevate Kvarca to godhood. They think if they can harness the lunar nexus where all the energy is flowing into this world navel and use it by collecting gemstones and giving the best of the best, the shiniest of the shinies to Kvarca, he'll be able to empower himself and become perfect, and then again achieve godhood and ascend to the heavens, and then of course bring the whole cult along with, right? They also are looking to initiate this lustrous age within the vaults. You know, mineral abundance, gems everywhere, magical power. Everybody should be enlightened and energized by the light. Of course, this could cause conflicts because the vaults, generally speaking, are shadowy and dark. So you can kind of see where conflicts are going to arise with certain other groups. They also believe in just unlocking the potential, transcending your limitations of physical form, and again making yourself perfect, and perhaps transcending your mortal coil into a luminous entity of perfection. They would believe that in the afterlife, they are not trapped, but they are transcend into actual gemstones, which then Kvarca places within his palace, the jewels tier within the city of Kvarca. Again, a lot of this lore I'm mentioning is from previous videos, so if you haven't seen those, go back and take a look at some of the other earlier sessions where I talked about the religion and his Kvarca's realm and all these other locations. And then lastly, one of their big goals is they seek personal perfection in all aspects: mind, body, spirit, etc., their crafting abilities. And they believe that this is manifested again within the gems and the lenses that they are crafting. Excuse me, they're crafting and gathering and such, etc. All right, and then lastly, how do they show their faith, and what are the acts of belief here? Rituals, ceremonies, and then what's the purpose of these things, and who's participating? So again, I take the information that I have from all my notes and all my resources and all whatever else, and working with ChatGPT, Chatty Cathy there, I came up with a whole bunch of cool rituals that the cult would practice and what benefits. These are just the bullet points of them. So anyway, they're gonna do rituals to attune with Kvarca's power and the energies of that are going through Prismar and the Luminar Nexus. Right, they want to become this energy. They're going to craft and utilize polished stones and lenses through divination and just insight seeking practices. They have major rituals: the illumination rite, the gemstone convergence, the light procession, which you see here in the picture, the gemstone blessing, which they will give to worthy people. You get the gemstone blessing, gives a little buff power with it. Crystal lens invocation, they're able to channel and focus Kvarca's power through these lenses. The lens of revelations, this is seeking, it's like a meditative ceremony where they're trying to seek Kvarca's insights. And then the festival of refinement is the big ritual that I mentioned earlier. This is a 2-week observance dedicated to the pursuit of perfection. So the cultists and the Prismari citizens, they're going to partake in this festival, and it's a lot of introspection where you're looking at yourself for flaws, of course, right? And then there's ceremonial purification and transformative practices. And you're guided by flaw finders. So there are people that you go to tell you what's wrong with you, not like medically, but like, hey, you got a blemish on your face. Or hey, you're not walking with perfect stature. And then they will, prescribe treatments to identify and polish away all these imperfections that have been identified. And then this is like your goal for the year. It's like your New Year's resolutions. I'm going to fix these problems. And so the cultists themselves are like totally in with this concept of getting better and self-improvement and ever, increasing levels of perfection to transcend their flawed existence. And of course they want to spread this to around, because in their mind this is, everybody should want to be perfect, right? Everybody should embrace the light and seek perfection. I mean, why not, right? But hey, rather than me telling you more about their ceremonies and belief structure, let's go ahead and ask one of our resident experts on Kvarca and the Luminite Lattice, one of its members, an NPC that we have consulted with multiple times before. Let's go check with our friend here and see if he can shed any more lights on the Luminite Lattice.
You wish to learn of my order? Very well, Delver. I shall illuminate the depths of your curiosity. We, the Luminite Lattice, are the bearers of the luminous faith, disciples of the unblemished Lord, Kvarca. Our identity is forged in the gleaming light of perfection, seeking to emulate the flawless might of our deity. We are gemcrafters, miners, artisans, seekers all of enlightenment and the mystic power that resonates within the heart of every gemstone. Our beliefs? They are as clear as the purest diamond. Kvarca stands as the paragon of all that is sublime and resplendent. We see his will crystallized in every gem, each stone a conduit for his divine energy. Our mastery in crafting enchanted lenses is not merely for adornment. It's a sacred practice, revealing the very fabric of magic and granting us communication with Kvarca's consciousness. You ask of our goals. They are as ambitious as the vaulted ceilings of our crystal sanctum. We strive to elevate Kvarca to the celestial pantheon, harnessing the luminaire nexus's energies to initiate a lustrous age of prosperity and perfection. Such an era will reflect the splendor of Kvarca's realm upon this world, granting us powers beyond mortal ken. And our rituals, they are the very heartbeat of our existence. Through ceremonies of light and clarity, we refine our souls, polish our spirits, and carve our path towards spiritual perfection. Each rite, from the sacred illumination to the solemn light procession, is a step closer to the divine. So, my inquisitive friend, that is the essence of our canon. The Luminite Lattice is not just an organization. It is a crucible of transcendence, a brotherhood of the radiant path. Should you seek further enlightenment, I am at your service.
There you have it. That is the lore that I came up with the assistance of Chatty Cathy, my muse, ChatGPT, along with the resources from Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the Lost Omens Character Guide, in combination with Cobalt Press's awesome resource about demon cults and secret societies. So for next session, we're going to continue this discussion because we still have to get into the structure of this cult. So next time, we're going to take a look at recruitment and membership. How does the Luminite Lattice recruit? Who are their members? Leadership. Who's in charge? What do they do? Where are they directing the cult's activities? Power base, sacred sites. Where is the cult centered? Is this a hidden shrine? Is it, open to the public? Where is it? What's going on there? And then resources, resilience. The cult, what do they have to dip into should there be a problem? Are they a big military force, or are they a bunch of secret backroom meeting people in basements, that sort of thing? So those are all the questions that I'm going to get into with session 3B, Kvarca's Luminite Lattice and the organization. So hopefully, if you're interested, you can tune into that one as well. In the meantime, if you go ahead and like and subscribe and comment below for any questions you may have about the Luminite Lattice and their religion and their practices, I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, take care of yourself and have a good day.